The world is ending. We need the Justice League. Welcome to the Complete Story Series. I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. This is the beginning of Justice League Rebirth, issues 1 through 4, The Extinction Machine. If you want to keep up to date with your dramatically read comic books and recaps of current events in Marvel and DC, make sure you subscribe today. Our story begins in Eastern Europe with the Amazon Princess Diana flying into battle. She was here on a mission of peace, but between these peoples, political differences, racial intolerance, religious extremists. Peace is about understanding and compromise, and she has given every opportunity to be fair. But now she is angry. The ground around the army begins to crack and sink, and soon the entire battlefield begins to fall into it. As the dust settles, one of the Russian soldiers tells her that she has killed them all, but Diana tells him that wasn't her. News reports begin to go out across the globe. Major earthquakes have been happening in every country, and many cities are suffering catastrophic damage and rising death tolls, with the final tolls being unimaginable. Over in Beijing, Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz look over the city with Simon's constructs as Jessica asks him if it's going to hold, and Simon tells her it'll have to do. He then radios back to Cyborg telling him that Beijing is secure for now, but what's next? And over in New York, Cyborg tells him that there is so much information flooding in. Flash is trying to take care of the US West Coast, and currently they have no word from Aquaman, Wonder Woman, or Batman, so for now, they're gonna have to head over to Hong Kong. As Cyborg stands in a collapsed subway, he says that he was a football player once. This is going to remind him of that game. And then he charges forward, grabbing a speeding train. Over in Atlantis, the Atlantean buildings begin to fall, and Arthur tells everyone that they need to evacuate all of the areas. They're going to have to leave the city. But due to the whole oceanic crust shifting, massive tidal waves are soon to hit the surfaces. As more buildings begin to fall, Arthur says that he hopes his friends up there are taking care of things. Over in Hong Kong, Jessica and Simon prepare for tsunamis as Simon forms his construct wall, and the two begin to hear chanting from the city. Green light, stolen light, our light. Seconds later, Simon's ring power begins to fade along with Jessica's, and the two of them start to fall back towards the oncoming tidal waves. Back in Eastern Europe, the dead soldiers begin to crawl out of the ground, telling Diana, stolen power, our power, we are coming back, we, the kindred. Over in San Diego, Barry grabs the last person to bring to safety, but they too begin to chant, stolen speed, our speed, and suddenly, Barry's speed stops and he trips. In Gotham, Batman stands before a giant object that has crashed into the city. At first glance, it seems like it's a weapon, but then small creatures begin to crawl out, attacking everyone in sight. Down below in Atlantis, Arthur continues to guide people to safety, but soon they stop, and they begin to chant, stolen words. Words started here. Words that make the worlds. Where are their words? Soon the Atlanteans begin to change, grabbing a hold of Arthur, and then the rest of the buildings begin to fall. Back with Diana, the dead soldiers all begin to jump towards her, stating that the awakening has started. Here and everywhere. It is time to prepare, for the kindred are coming. She throws back all of the bodies, telling them to hear her now, kindred. She has friends, and they are coming for them. Over in Hong Kong, Simon and Jessica fly out of the waters, and Simon tries to begin making constructs again, allowing the townspeople to escape. However, over in Central City, Barry begins to get back up, and he notices the people starting to gather. As at that exact same time, the people Simon is trying to save all grab him. As the people in both areas grab a hold of them, red light begins to surge through them, and then suddenly, everything's back to normal. Bruce radios telling Barry that he needs him in Gotham right now. There's an emergency, and over the radio, Cyborg tells everyone to head to the Watchtower. There's something that he needs to show them. But as Barry arrives in Gotham, he tells him that Batman called him over. Just keep him in the loop for now. Barry looks out and sees Bruce struggling with bug creatures, and he asks if he can. But Barry is already running and grabbing each one and destroying them. After the last one is killed, Bruce finishes his sentence, grab them, and Barry tells him, grabbed. Any clues to what these things are? There's some sort of biological weapon, crashed missiles. We're gonna need to start to find out where they came from. And Cyborg radios back stating that that is not all that is going on. Can they come up to the Watchtower now? Back in Atlantis, Arthur finds himself laying on a stone pillar, and he wakes back up to hear singing, a calming harmony coming out of these stones. As he touches one, the song changes, something harsher than before, and then the ground begins to give way. Arthur grabs all of the shining stones and he makes his way back up to the surface. Up in the Watchtower, Cyborg explains that these earthquakes all activated on the fault lines of Earth, all at the same time. However, what they're looking at right now is the outer core of Earth. Jessica sees 4 dots, each one on its own side of the planet, and she asks what are those? And Cyborg tells her, that's the question. All he can tell her for now now is that they are 5 miles in diameter, each emitting a gravitational pulse, and they are charging for a second, a more powerful pulse. Bruce asks where did they come from, and Cyborg tells him there's no way to know. They've been there since before there was technology to detect them. Jessica then asks what about all of the people? It's like they were possessed, and Diana steps in stating they called themselves the Kindred. She's pretty sure this is the start of whatever it is that they are doing. Cyborg then says that for them to do something about that, it would be suicidal. The temperatures and the pressure down there in the center of the Earth. So Diana says that they need to ask him. Alarms begin to go off, and outside, more of those missiles in Gotham begin to head towards the Earth. The team begins to move out, and as everyone gets ready to go back to the Earth, Barry asks what is Bruce going to do, and he tells him that he's going to go get him. Down in Atlantis, Arthur takes the stones to see if anyone can tell him as to why they are singing, but as one of the guards finds him, Arthur says that he thought he told everyone to leave this area. The guard says that he tried, but then they all started speaking stolen words, and it started to happen. As Arthur asks what is it, the guard says that, and then he sees all of the Atlanteans swimming in one giant collective body. Over in Metropolis, Bruce watches as Clark destroys some of the oncoming missiles, telling himself that he is not his friend. He is not the man that he trusted his life with, but he is just as much of a Superman. Clark floats over stating that the world seems to be in trouble again, and Bruce tells him worse than he knows. We need your help. It's a job for Superman. We need the impossible. We need someone to go to the center of the Earth. In each of the corners of the Earth, the figures begin to appear, and they call themselves the Kindred, but over in Russia, Diana tells one that she needs to know what they are and what they want. She strikes down on the face of one of the figures, telling it that those people are under their protection. Release them now! And the figure tells her that their purpose was within all people so that they can emerge on any world at any time that they could come to end forever. However, she has purpose here. One of the bodies from the figure reach out, grabbing Diana by the leg, telling her to join them. Join them and learn. Barry runs across the stage to stop the bug creatures while Simon and Jessica head off into space to handle the missiles directly. Meanwhile, though, on the Kent farm, Bruce tells Cyborg to meet him there and make it quick. Up in space, Simon and Jessica fly towards the missiles to find out where they're coming from. But the further that they travel, their rings tell them they are currently leaving Sector 2814 and they're entering into a non-sectored space. As they fly out of a wormhole, they see a planet, or at least they see what's left of a planet. But the readings from the ring state that the destroyed planet in front of them still has life forms on the surface. Millions of them. Back down on the farm, Clark says his goodbyes to Lois, stating that he's going to go to a place so dangerous that it's even dangerous for him. But if he doesn't try, it could mean the end of all life on the Earth, including theirs. As the two of them hug, he tells Bruce, let's get it done. And Cyborg prepares to open a boom tube into the Earth's core, stating that they need to take out these extinction machines, for the lack of a better description. He can get them down there, but he can't get them back out. Those things, though, they've been there for a long time. They've been able to withstand the pressure of 17,000 atmospheres. They won't be destroyed easily. And Clark looks at him and asks, do you have anything encouraging to state before I go? And then he jumps through the wormhole. As the boom tube closes, Lois looks at Bruce and tells him that if Clark dies, she's holding him responsible. But no sooner does she finish her sentence than one of the missiles comes crashing down. Cyborg tells Bruce to get Lois and John to safety. He'll handle these, but as Bruce begins to run, Cyborg notices a signal coming from one of the creatures. However, the creatures are not attacking everything that they see. They're only attacking Cyborg. As Diana opens up her eyes, she sees nothing, just space, but she hears voices. The voices ask, who is she? And another says it does not know. It is not Kindred, but it is a relative. Diana calls out asking, who are they? But the voices then ask, who are you? She begins to state that she is Diana, Amazon warrior, but the voices become louder asking, who are you? Who are you? Over in Canada along the Atlantic coast, the collective figures begin to rise, gathering from one another stating that the magic has returned. They are awakened. And back down below the Earth's core, Clark finds the first device. But it's hotter here than he can make his heat vision, so right now, he doesn't know what to do. Back on the surface at the Kent farm, Cyborg begins to see the signal. It's trying to rewrite his coding, change his DNA. Purge. It's trying to purge him. But if he can use that signal, use their coding, he can change it and purge it back. Suddenly, the creatures begin to call out from the sky, and Bruce runs over to check on Cyborg. Cyborg looks up, stating that he knows what all of this is. He knows what's happening to them, and they are so screwed. So Bruce asks him, what's happening? And Cyborg explains that he is still processing some of the information, but this stuff, it's called the Purge. He can still hear them. For those who have been purged, they are in pain and afraid. It's like a living death. It makes people into something not human. It was was created for humanoid species, and there seems to be a lot of them out there in the universe. It's not trying to kill the humans, it's just trying to make them not human. But the Quakes, the thing that Superman's after, those things are fail-safes to destroy the world if they can't convert the human race. Lois asks if the Quakes are still happening. So what does that mean for Clark? What happened to him? Bruce turns away, stating that they need another plan, and Lois tells him, "Don't you dare write Clark off." Clark left on his say to go somewhere that no one should ever go, not even him. Bruce says, "I'm sorry, but if he failed," and Lois stops him, stating that the other Superman, you are friends, right? You trusted him. Well, trust this one. Trust my Clark. He's never let anyone down, ever. He will find a way. Elsewhere, back with Barry Allen, he continues running, stopping the creatures that he can, and just as the last missile lands on Earth, he finds the collective beings. He can figure out what those are after he stops the bugs. Surely, the collective beings can't be a coincidence, right? But as he runs, he begins to trip again, and he finds himself not able to run, and then the Earth begins to shake. Back inside one of the beings, Diana says that she's not sure what they mean. If she is not Diana, what can she be? And the voice asks what is it that she's looking for. She tells them answers, and then the voices ask again, "Who are you?" She says she's looking for the truth. Is that what she is? Truth? What are the kindred? The voices tell her that they are a memory from long ago, before time, and even before that, in the eternal return is their place to remember all of those that may awaken. Diana asks, the eternal return for what purpose? And the voices tell her to reclaim the stolen power and prepare for the beginning and the end of everything. Down on the Earth's core, Clark struggles with maintaining himself in the pressure, and as he pushes, trying to move the device to the Earth's actual core, he begins to feel it move. More and more it pushes until he can feel it. The pressure is finally taking over, and the device crushes and implodes on itself. Maybe this is it, but what is? There was a redundancy. What if only two or even one were just needed to destroy the Earth? This isn't over. He needs to destroy them all. Back inside the being, Diana can hear the voices talking. The world is shaking, but it's not breaking. The Purge has been held at bay. She tells them that they will be saving the world. That's what they do. They will be stopped. But the voices tell her that others have tried. The World Breakers, the Purge. It is their power who lets them sing for the first time. Images of Barry begin to appear, and Diana calls out to him, and the voices state that he came following the Purge. But they have retaken his stolen speed and added it to themselves. So what can they do now? Outside of the being, the Purge slowly begins to crawl and take over Barry as he calls out to Cyborg, telling him to open up a boom tube. But back on the farm, Cyborg doesn't receive that transmission. He tries to reach out to the lanterns, but all of his calls go out and no one answers. And then he hears it, faintly, Barry's voice. He heard him, but not from the Justice League's network, from the Purge's network, which means he's still connected to their network. He's gonna try something, and just as he finishes his sentence, Cyborg blanks out and falls to the ground. Over at the source of the missiles, Jessica finished destroying the last missile, and Simon tells her that she needs to come back to the surface. There's something that she needs to see. As she flies down, she asks what, and as she looks out, she says that she didn't see that coming. Over on the server, she sees hundreds of people that look just like Cyborg. Back down below in the ocean, Arthur swims to each of the 4 points as told by the Shining Stones. They say that they will bind with the Earth, go deep and hold it strong. So with the first stone set, it's time to move to the next. Back over at the Kent farm, Cyborg falls to his knees, stating that he's just not connected to the Purge anymore. He thinks he's controlling it, or at least part of it. Simon and Jessica report their findings of the Purge cyborgs, but Cyborg says for now they need to help Barry, and he begins to open up a boom tube. Before stepping through, Bruce tells Clark's son John that his dad will come back soon. And John tells him, I know, he is Superman. With Clark continuing to push the next Extinction device into the Earth's center, Bruce and Cyborg enter out of the tube where Barry is. Cyborg pushes the Purge away, but as Bruce goes up to help him, Barry mentions that he can't get up, he can't run, his speed is gone. They took it. Inside one of the beings, Diana tells the kindred, see, my friends are here to stop you. The voices tell her that she doesn't understand herself or her place, but soon she will, and then she will understand. Hands begin to reach out, pulling at Diana until they push her outside of the being. The 4 beings begin to gather power, and Bruce says that they are kind of stopping all of the things that are designed to stop them. And now they are letting them do whatever it is they are doing. That's not going to be good, is it? Diana says they represent some fundamental force, starlight, magic, the color spectrum, and speed. And Cyborg mentions that it's like the League's powers mostly. Barry stands back up, stating that they stole his speed. Well, the speed force was created when he got struck with the lightning, so yeah, the speed was stolen from him, and now he's taking it back. His eyes begin to light up when the speed starts to return to him, and he begins to run in circles around one of the beings. Cyborg radios over to Simon and Jessica, telling them that he's going to need them to do something before coming back. With each member of the League doing their part, Simon and Jessica return with a giant tube containing the Purge from the destroyed planet, and they begin filling the beings up with it. As the purge begins to fill the being, he begins to take away the lantern's powers, but Barry tells them to remember, it's their light, hold on to it. Jessica starts to channel using all of her willpower and slowly begins to take back the green light. Back in the waters, Arthur appears with the last stone and he slams it down into the earth, and he says how everyone laughed at the thought of magic crystals helping. Well, look at that, magic crystals. Using the last one, Arthur jumps to one of the beings and pushes the crystal in, stating that the stones have spoken. They say it can help end their song. As the fight goes on, both sides are at a stalemate, neither side pulling ahead, and Bruce says normally this is where somebody pulls something out amazing. Just then, lightning begins to fall onto the battlefield as Clark floats over holding the last Extinction device. Using the power from the earthquakes, Clark focused the energy down on the beings, causing them all to fall apart back into the people that made them. As the smoke begins to settle, Clark tells everyone that he will put this into space so that everyone can examine it later. But for now, they still save the world. Barry checks to make sure Jessica is okay, and Simon tells him, yeah, they are okay. Bruce mentions that whatever the Kindra's true purpose is, someone or something is willing to destroy a lot of worlds and kill a lot of people to stop it from happening. Clark tells him he guesses that they've made it their job now, so he's gonna be in touch. Now, the story is a bit crazy and is a bit all over the place, but this is basically just the Justice League fighting against something crazy. While it had some great moments in it, some of the other stuff in it I found myself getting lost in. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of Extinction Machines. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Comicstorian, and I'll see you next time right here.